of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Pastor John Apodaca from Good Life Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Good morning. Let's pray. Lord, we come before you thanking you for this beautiful day and the life you have given us. We pray for our leaders who serve our county. Grant them the wisdom to govern with fairness, insight, and understanding of all the diverse needs in our community. Strengthen them to face the challenges with integrity and courage. Help them to seek justice and to act in the best interest for all. Bless their work, Lord, that our county may flourish in justice, kindness, and hope. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor, for those words. Next, we're moving on to presentations. Always a good time to recognize our employees that have been with the county for many, many years. So today we'll be conducting some employee service awards, and the first employee is with the county. The first set of employees have been with the county for 25 years, and doing the first two presentations will be Christine Huber from Community Services Agency.
Good morning, Chairman Grewal, board members, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Bose. I'm here today to honor Catherine McCain for 25 years of service with Stanislaus County. She's worked at the Stanislaus County Community Service Agency since 1999. She began her career as an intake eligibility worker in our public assistance program. From there, she promoted to a Family Service Specialist 3 in the Welfare to Work program. In 2014, Catherine then promoted to a Social Worker 3 in Child Welfare, where she has worked with youth in guardianships, youth in foster care, and will be transferring soon to help family members, to find family members for youth in care. Catherine has many positive characteristics, but the one that stands out the most are compassionate. Catherine is always looking at ways she can better serve her youth, thinking about them as a whole in each and every situation. Adaptable. Catherine is always the first one to embrace the multiple changes within the child welfare system and encourages her fellow coworkers that change is good. With this, she is also very flexible. Anytime there is a sudden change or disruption, Catherine approaches the situation with such grace and is quick to adjust her schedule to handle any emergency at hand. Catherine is well-versed in getting tasks done and is motivated and caring for the families that she works with. Catherine is well known with the community partners with who we work with regularly. They always have such positive things to say about her. Some of the community partners include that we work closely with is the Court-Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, and numerous foster family agencies. One of her most notable achievements, I'll say, is a couple weeks ago, I got to go with her and her family and her coworkers to the CASA Light of Hope dinner, where she was honored as Social Worker of the Year. This award goes to people, to social workers who go above and beyond to support foster youth, to excel, and just gives her all to support the youth in being successful and reaching their goals. So congratulations, Catherine, on that. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity for being here today. I just wanted to say that the agency is an amazing place to be employed. I've enjoyed working with families and youth over the years. Just thank you so much.
Well, Catherine, we also want to thank you for your 25 years of service to the county. Congratulations on being Social Worker of the Year. Must be a proud moment, and just shows everything that you've done to touch this community for the betterment of our youth and the entire community. So congratulations to another 25 years. Did you, I was going to offer to say something else. Did you want to say anything additional?
If you want to say something else.
Congratulations. So exciting. Good to see your sister.
All right, next employee that we'll be recognizing, also recognized by Christine, will be Jennifer Yang with the Community Services Agency.
So Jennifer began her career in April of 1992 as an eligibility worker with Fresno County Department of Social Services. Then she then became an employment and training specialist in 1994 for Department of Social Services GAIN programs. In June of 1999, Jennifer transferred to Stanislaus County as an employment coordinator in our public assistance programs at the Community Service Agency. On November 20th, 2000, Jennifer promoted to Social Worker 1-2 with In-Home Supportive Services and promoted to Social Worker 3 in December of 2003. Jennifer is currently a Social Worker 3 trainer for In-Home Supportive Services since 2017. Jennifer has embraced the role of trainer-mentor, successfully guiding all trainees towards their training objectives. Jennifer has extensive knowledge and comprehension of the IHSS program, case documentation, and program regulations. She has served as a positive and robust foundation for developing the careers of aspiring social workers. Jennifer has excellent performance evaluations and many positive letters of recommendations in regards to the work that she does. Per Jennifer, she is proud to have been working with Stanislaus County for over 25 years. I know she's also somebody that I have gone to or worked with when I have questions about in-home supportive services. It takes a lot to be a trainer and a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience to do that. So she does a great job. Jennifer is recognized for her straightforward and transparent communication style. Her warmth and sincerity create a comforting atmosphere for both her colleagues and her customers. A key member of our team, Jennifer consistently demonstrates reliability and embraces new challenges, believing that teamwork is both a strength and a personal philosophy. Jennifer has great interpersonal skills and is respectful to everyone around her. She's in tune with her department's goals and takes the time to celebrate every achievement alongside her peers. Jennifer is a member of the Stanislaus Asian American Community Resource. Jennifer provides resources to the Asian American community in Stanislaus County and helps the youth achieve their educational goals. She participates in their fundraisers and scholarship award activities. Jennifer is a vibrant individual who approaches each day with unwavering positivity. She has demonstrated remarkable grace in difficult situations, skillfully balancing her professional and personal needs. This balance has allowed her to become an avid traveler, eagerly embracing new experiences along the way. Congratulations, Jennifer.
I just want to say thank you all, and I feel honored to be here to be recognized at this event.
Well, Jennifer, it is our pleasure. When you spend 25 years at one place, you really make a choice, and you choose to be here, and you want to be here. And, you know, it says a lot about your commitment to the county and to all the people that you serve, that you chose to be here for 25 years. And we're really, really thankful to you and grateful to you for 25 years of excellent service to Stanislaus County residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, thank you. And next, we'll be recognizing CEO Hayes or Monica Correa. We'll be recognizing Carmen Alenia for her 25 years of service to the county.
Carmen.
Good morning, Chair, Board of Supervisors, County Council, CEO. It is with great pleasure that we recognize and celebrate Carmen Alania for her 25 years of service to Stanislaus County. I love her. Carmen began her career with Stanislaus County in the fall of 1999 as an eligibility worker with the Community Services Agency in the Stan Works Division, serving the most vulnerable in our community and helping them obtain access to public assistance programs. Carmen's excellent work ethic and willingness to learn and master new tasks allowed her to quickly promote to eligibility worker 2, which we later reclassified what we know as today as the Family Service Specialist. Over the next several years, Carmen had promoted through the ranks, and in 2008 was a Family Service Specialist, Family Service Supervisor at CSA Adult Services Division. And remarks from her supervisors at that time include, quote, Carmen demonstrates her leadership by establishing a strong vision for performance outcomes and leading by example. She demonstrates integrity and agency values. Another quote, Carmen's positive outlook and team player attitude is appreciated by all those who work with her. In 2017, Carmen found her way back to Stan Works Division at CSA after promoting to a manager 2, and during this period, her senior manager shared that one of Carmen's best qualities is her attitude towards change and the management of change. She has a philosophy that a change is a new learning opportunity for her. This philosophy proved to be essential during Carmen's 20 years with Community Services Agency. During her tenure, the department underwent major changes with a direct impact to Carmen's work. Some of those include the transition from paper files to an automated case management system, and the implementation of a customer service call center, which is the centralized telephone support for customers. And speaking of major change, in January 2020, Carmen demonstrated her desire to continue learning and taking on new challenges by transferring over to the Chief Executive Office Human Relations Division in our Programs and Standards Unit, taking on the role as it relates to budget, as it relates to position and staffing allocation, classification and compensation analysis, and policy administration. Quite the change. While transitioning to a brand new role just prior to the start of a worldwide pandemic was not exactly ideal, Carmen's dedication to taking on new tasks quickly made her a critical asset to the CEO HR team and during the COVID-19 emergency response. Carmen's ongoing commitment to delivering results through high-quality work led her to a promotion to a Manager 3 in January 2023, where she was viewed as a subject matter expert in her field. Carmen, just for your information, is the one who prepares all the staffing reports and graphs and charts and the staffing narratives that's presented to the board at each budget cycle. As she enjoys this work, and she takes much pride in it, Carmen carries such a pleasant attitude and the outlook of her workplace, and the staff, including myself, really enjoy working with her. She is a very genuine person. Carmen continues to learn and further develop her skill set, now sharing her knowledge with our county workforce as a trainer at the Supervisor Training Academy and our Confidential Assistance Training Academy. And Carmen is a great asset to the county with those who work with her today, and her peers today say, Carmen is the go-to person that can be counted on to deliver quality work, and always with the best service and with the most positive attitude. And that is very true. Another quote, Carmen continues to be a role model who is very much appreciated by all who have the pleasure of working with her. So therefore, Carmen, we are so proud of you as we celebrate your 25 years of service with Stanislaus County. You have dedicated a quarter of a century to the growth and enrichment of our community and our workforce, and is someone we can all be proud of and lucky to work alongside with. Please join me in congratulating Carmen on her 25 years of excellent and loyal county service.
You got a lot of fans in the audience. You want to say something, Carmen? Would you like to say something?
Thank you. Yes. Well, thank you, Monica, for your kind words. Very thankful to be here today. I gotta say, the county of Stanislaus County has been a great employer to me and my family, so I'm very thankful for that. First, I would like to say some appreciations and grateful. I'm very grateful to God for guiding me through my life and through this journey, to my family for being there for me, for their love and support, to my husband and son. My son is my inspiration. He's in junior high, so I'm very proud of him. To all the wonderful people, county family, they have been an incredible inspiration through my career with the county, to my colleagues, past and present, they being with me to provide me support, collaboration, and friendship. I'm very thankful for everyone who has contributed to my development. 25 years, I didn't think about much about, how did I get here? But I gotta say, I'm very thankful to CSA, to the Community Services Agency, for giving me the opportunity to start my career and for providing services to our community. So my career started actually going to college. I never thought that I was going to go into social services because my career was for accounting, economics and accounting. But going to CSA showed me the needs of our community. So I'm very thankful to the Community Services for giving me the opportunity. And after 20 years, before ending my career with the county, I wanted to try something different, in a different level, and Monica gave me the opportunity. The Chief Executive Office, Human Relations team gave me the opportunity to do that. I'm very thankful for all the opportunities, to the budget team for being there for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carmen. Thank you so much. One thing that always amazes me when we go through these presentations is how someone started in one department and worked in so many different departments, touched a lot of departments, and then, they are in the current position. So that just shows, just kind of tooting the county's horn, that we're all for upward mobility, we're all for promoting within, and we all appreciate the ones that try new things. Like they talked about change, how you take change and go forward with it. That means a lot, because not only are your expertise at CSA, but what you brought to this team. So that's very commendable. And to all the people that serve in the county, we always appreciate you trying new things and helping the county in other ways. So really appreciate it. Congratulations. Look like everybody's a huge supporter of yours, and your son's in junior high, so it could be a nice transition in the next 20 years where if you exit stage left, he comes to the county family.
Right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If you need me in your recruitment video, have your people pop my video.
Okay, got it.
All right, next is 30 years of service, and presenting to our first recipient will be Mary Ann Lilly with the Health Services Agency, to Christine Ross, who has served for 30 years, Stanislaus County residents.
Okay, here we go. Good morning, board members, CEO Hayes, Council Bose. I'm really happy to be here this morning to introduce Christine, goes by Chris Ross, to you, and to celebrate her 30 years of service, all at the Health Services Agency. Chris, I think I first met you when you were at CMO, but that's not really where it began. Chris began in 1994 in the Stanislaus Medical Center, supporting emergency services for the community. We've seen a lot of change since 1994. In 2001, Chris promoted to the role of staff services technician working at the Ceres Medical Office. It's said that oftentimes when we wanted to try something new, we chose CMO, the Ceres Medical Office, in large part because that's where Chris was, because we knew that was a good place to kind of work the bugs out and make sure a process was going to go well. And in large part that was because of the hard work and the ability to analyze the details and kind of figure that out. Chris probably saved a lot of hours and headache for many others in the agency because of her skill and talent and dedication. She has, clearly adapted to a lot of change over the years, and she wanted to do something a little different. So in 2010, she transferred to our central business office, where she wanted to expand her knowledge. I understand that you wanted to really become an expert in medical billing. Chris worked very hard to ensure that the agency's medical claims, our billings, were accurate, compliant, and timely. In terms of her really wanting to become expert, she set an objective, and I understand that between 2012 and 2018, Chris took it upon herself and she earned some certifications. Three different certifications with the American Academy of Professional Coders. Chris is a certified professional coder, a certified professional medical auditor, and a certified evaluation and management coder. I also understand that Chris, you became active in the leadership of the American Academy of Professional Coders, the Modesto chapter, and that included sharing her knowledge with others in the area too, and encouraging them to become certified. I would say that reflects the county's value of being a really good partner. Chris is a good partner with her coworkers too. She's a hard worker. She's an encouraging supervisor. She's known for her dedication, kindness, and generosity. I want you all to know that this is complicated work, maybe kind of like the IRS code. There are thousands of procedure codes and diagnostic codes. And while we think about how important doctors and nurses are, and they absolutely are, if it weren't for Chris and her colleagues, the work that they do to ensure that that the billing, that it's supported by the medical chart information and whatnot, it's complex. It's hard work. And without the work that you've done, Chris, the health services we provided to the community wouldn't have been around very long to be able to do that. This is really important work. So you've really played an important role in making access to medical care possible for 30 years, and for that we are really grateful. Beyond her professional achievements and contributions, Chris has raised a loving family and is a very proud grandmother. Her family, they weren't able to be here today, but they're here with you in spirit. Chris enjoys traveling with her husband, spending time with her family, especially those that call her Nana. Chris is creative too. I understand that you can sometimes be found at local craft fairs selling your one-of-a-kind items that you create, so that's wonderful. So Chris, thank you for being part of the Health Services Agency and Stanislaus County. Thank you for dedicating 30 years of service to our community. Please join me in celebrating and appreciating Chris Ross.
Okay, so I'm not a big public speaker, but actually I've been here since 1992. I was part-time when Scenic Hospital was open, and I worked as a registration clerk on the float pool. So I worked in the ER, I worked when Medical Arts Building was here, and that's how I wound up at the Ceres Medical Office, and was there when they set it up. And then I was there when we broke ground in Ceres at the Whitmore location. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity.
You're good, it's okay.
And my career, and the opportunity to earn my certifications and support the agency and the underprivileged population that we serve. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you to 32 years of service. We appreciate it, and like Mary Ann said, you not only use your skill sets to help the county, but also help others in this area, and that means a lot, and that shows your commitment to make our community better. So we thank you so much, and we hope you have many more years of traveling with your husband, but after you put in some more good time at the county. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. All right, and our next presenter will be Tony Bartan with the Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, recognizing Mary Cruz Vargas for 30 years of service.
Good morning, Chairman Graywell, members of the board, CEO Hayes, County Council Bowes, Tony Vartan, Behavioral Health Director for Stanislaus County. We are here today as we're honored to recognize Mary Cruz Vargas for her 30 years of service. Mary Cruz is currently a mental health clinician 2 with the BHR's Quality Services and Risk Management Program. She joined this division in September of 2015 as a mental health clinician 1 and transferred to the Leaps and Bounds treatment program in September of 2017 to complete her clinical hours for her clinical social work licensure. Mary Cruz rejoined the Quality Services and Risk Management Program in December of 2019 after completing her clinical hours and obtaining her pupil personal service credential in social work in December of 2021. And of course, she successfully met her goals of becoming a licensed clinical social worker in December of 2023. Mary Cruz's journey with county from a typist 1 and 2 at Health Services Agency, Administrative Clerk 1 and 2 at HSA, Administrative Clerk 3 at Juvenile Justice, Juvenile Hall, and Leaps and Bounds, Confidential Assistant 3 at First 5 Stanislaus, Social Worker 4 at Community Services Agency, Mental Health Clinician 1 at Quality Services, and Leaps and Bounds. And now, of course, as a licensed mental health clinician at Quality and Risk Management with BHRS, has been a very long journey, but very successful with a lot of highs and lows and challenges and a lot of great accomplishments. Mary Cruz has been a great asset to BHRS department. She is dedicated, experienced, loyal, and trustworthy. She consistently demonstrates her commitment to BHRS and the quality services team. Mary Cruz's commitment to department, strong work ethics, passion for her community, and broad knowledge is both acknowledgeable and deeply valued. Mary Cruz would like to share that she's grateful to have the opportunity to work for Stanislaus County and to grow and learn in many different work settings. Thank you, Mary Cruz, for your commitment, for your passion, and unwavering dedication to Stanislaus County and BHRS. You are greatly appreciated for all the work you have done and continue to do. And if you'd like to say a few words, please do. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you for this recognition, and I do want to dedicate this recognition and award to my parents and my grandparents because they've taught me what hard work is and dedication. And I also want to thank Stanislaus County for being a great employer who's given me many opportunities to grow and learn and work in different departments. So thank you.
Well, we also want to thank you, Mary Cruz. Again, it just shows you started out in a different department, worked your way up to where you currently are, just bettering yourself. And what that does, it allows you to serve our community better. And we appreciate that. 30 years of service to the county, being with one employer, means that you appreciate and enjoy your experience. And we appreciate and enjoy having you as a Stanislaus County employee. Thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations. So that is 135 years of collective service to the residents of Stanislaus County. Thank you to all the recipients. Right. Thank you again. Next is public comment period, and I have a few public comment cards. I'll call them in order, and then after, if there's anybody that would like to speak that didn't turn out a public comment card, can feel free to. So the first public comment card I have is Glenell Bowen. Good morning.
Morning, it's Glenell Bowen. I'm going to read part of a cease and desist letter that was sent to each member of the board, as well as county council and the ROV. The state of California has passed AB 969, enacted in October of 2023, using the urgency clause. This bill would declare that it is to take effect immediately as an urgency statute. Section 2 of the bill states, "This act is an urgency statute necessary for the immediate preservation of the public's peace, health, or safety within the meaning of Article 4 of the California Constitution and shall go into effect and shall go into immediate effect. The facts constituting the necessity are in order to ensure that election officials know what voting system they will be using, particularly with the upcoming 2024 March presidential primary. It is necessary for this act to take effect immediately. The California Constitution, Article 4, Section 8D states, in pertinent part, urgency statutes are those necessary for immediate preservation of the public peace, health, or safety. A statement of facts constituting the necessity shall be set forth in one section of the bill. Section 2 fails to state any facts supporting the assertion of a threat to public peace, health, or safety. In this Assembly bill, there are no facts stating either that any election official was unaware of what voting systems they would be using, nor any facts amounting to an urgency within the meaning of the California Constitution, Article 4. Additionally, voting by citizens that is accurately counted does not impact public peace, health, or safety. Thus, there is absolutely no logical, legal, or constitutional basis for the alleged urgency. Therefore, the use of the urgency clause to bypass normal legislative process was and is unlawful and deprived the citizens of California of an opportunity for public referendum. Misusing this urgency clause to avoid checks on legislation and prevent public input is an abuse of legislative authority. It prevents the citizens from having a voice in the legislative process as required by the California State Constitution. Article 2, Section 9 of the California Constitution provides for the referendum process in California. Citizens have the power to approve or reject statutes or parts of statutes, except for urgency statutes and some other fiscal exceptions. If the legislature had not improperly used the process reserved for public health and safety emergencies, the citizens of California could have reviewed and challenged the law by referendum pursuant to Article 2, Section 9 of the California Constitution. You have been placed in an unfortunate position where you are unable to conduct the 2024 general election without breaking either state or federal laws. You cannot comply with newly enacted state laws without breaking federal laws. You cannot comply with federal laws without breaking the newly enacted state law. There are additional reasons to cease and desist. The Help America Vote Act of 2002 requires accurate voter rolls to be maintained by the local jurisdiction. California counties have hundreds and even thousands of ineligible voters on their rolls. This violates HAVA's requirement for accuracy and compliance in elections, including the voter rolls. You know this because many citizens have taken it upon themselves to audit the voter rolls because our government does not, and they have found hundreds and thousands of ineligible voters. Some of these citizens have come before officials only to be disparaged and ignored. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker card I have is for Jan Higgins.
Good morning, Board. I'm going to continue reading the additional reasons to cease and desist. Many of our elections are decided by less than 100 votes, and some by less than 10 votes. Inaccurate voter rolls are an incontestable fact. The Election Integrity Project California reported that they found 1,834,789 more registered voters than eligible citizens in the state voter rolls, including active and inactive voters. HAVA was enacted due to the 2000 Bush-Gore election debacle, which greatly divided voters and destroyed voter trust. Simply articulated, if voter rolls are not accurate and compliant, elections cannot be certified as compliant or accurate, meeting the standard set within HAVA. HAVA was designed to provide a zero-trust model for voting systems, which includes transparency to address trust issues when using electronic voting machines. And if you remember, a few months back, we asked that you watch the movie by David Clements that shows how the voting machines can be hacked every which way because they can be plugged into an electrical outlet and can be manipulated from anywhere in the world. Okay, to continue with this, there's a zero trust model for voting systems, which includes transparency to address trust issues when using electronic voting machines. Although election fraud existed in individual local races, these widespread trust issues did not exist before electronic mechanical machines. In addition, HAVA falls under the Civil Rights Act, therefore certifying inaccurate or non-compliant elections violates every citizen's civil rights when elections are not accurate or election laws have been violated. Financial reasons to comply with HAVA. Not only is HAVA a federal law, but because this county has accepted federal money pursuant to HAVA, it is also a contract law. This county entered a contract with the federal government when it accepted funds under the Help America Vote Act. The Board of Supervisors voted to accept these funds. County Council signed off on the contracts, and the ROV clerk recorder agreed to comply with the terms of that contract. We still have these machines, just to remind everyone. If this county follows California law, and specifically AB 969, the county cannot meet the contractual requirements of the Help America Vote Act. If the county intends to follow California law, the county will deprive the citizens of the transparency required, resulting in a misappropriation of federal funds. Failing to follow the federally mandated HAVA, the county would have to return the HAVA funds to the federal government. If the county returns the HAVA funds, the county cannot pay for the election equipment, and the county is required by California law to use. Let me repeat that. I didn't come out right. If the county returns the HAVA funds, the county cannot pay for the election equipment that the county is required by California law to use. Board of Supervisors have a problem. Each of you swore an oath to the United States Constitution and to the Constitution of the State of California. Both constitutions guarantee citizens the right to have their vote accurately counted and to elect their representatives. Your oath is not to the government, but to the Constitution and the people you represent, certifying you represent. Certifying uncertifiable elections in a federal election can reach the level of treason. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker card I have is for Melinda Mason.
Good morning. Good morning to each of you on the board and the council. I'm Melinda Mason. I'm with the new state of California. I am the county board chairman for the new state of California here in Stanislaus. I'm also a member of the Assembly of the new state of California. For those who are not familiar, the new state of California is being stood up at this moment in Congress, and we will be the 51st state in the nation. I want to invite people to come on a phone call every Sunday and Wednesday evening and join us, and they can find out more about the new state of California, because unfortunately we are living in a time where the press is not covering the truth for we the people. And that's been going on for a lot of decades, really. And so I encourage everyone in this room, all of you, and anyone online to come on to the new state of California. You can go to newcaliforniastate.com and get information on Zoom calls. You can come on and have your questions answered. We have a government here that cannot be, unfortunately, brought back together under the Constitution the way it is being ran. And I want to just go back over and say again, and remind everyone that if our county follows California state law, as was stated earlier, specifically AB 969, the county can't meet its contractual agreements with HAVA. I want to also just reiterate that the Board of Supervisors does really have a problem here, because each of you did swear an oath to the Constitution, I'm assuming, I pray you did, to the Constitution of the United States and California State, both. And they both guaranteed the citizens the right to their vote, an accurate vote. And we, the people that you represent, are asking you to be very careful when you're certifying uncertifiable elections. These are federal election violations that do and can reach treason. And I understand that this county's never been held accountable. None of you have been held accountable for that oath or keeping a proper perspective to your oath to serve we the people and the Constitution. But we do pray that those involved would not expose themselves any longer to these types of obligations that can find you wanting. We respectfully demand that the county comply with both the California and the federal constitutions rather than following newly enacted and unconstitutional California laws. Unconstitutional laws are just that, unconstitutional. First, the process must be transparent and the counts must be verified. Second, only eligible voters should be allowed to vote in our elections. To meet these requirements, this county should have one-day hand-counted elections requiring ID to vote and mail-in ballots limited to legitimate absentee voters. Your thoughtful consideration to these matters contained in the letter that you received from me about 3 weeks ago, each of you, and your oath to the United States Constitution and the California state constitutions are greatly appreciated. And I pray again that the public would begin to understand that if you are not allotted and afforded your vote, you are no longer under our precious Constitution. So I ask you to demand that you get one-day in-person voting with ID in this state. And I also further ask you, if you're going to vote on Election Day. That is the one day afforded per our Constitution for us to vote. Any other day is unconstitutional. We need to go back to that. And those who are receiving those little your little ballot in the mail, you can see there's a box provided there where all of your information is displayed for many people in a chain of custody that's out of control. Ask for not a provisional, but an actual ballot on Election Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Marilyn Manfredi.
Good morning. Speaking of voting, over the decades, our privacy in voting has de-evolved, and the official ballot that you received has window. The window has all of your information there, can be scanned. It's not private. What happened to the blank, just paper ballot or envelope that we had with our name on it? I encourage you all to vote in person, and I encourage you to ask for a precinct ballot when you do vote. Stanislaus County has had a demonstration election already, and with that election, it was fair and transparent. They required a California ID or an ID to vote, It was done in one day, and it was done in person, and it was done with paper ballots, and it was hand counted. On the same day, there were results. How can we go to these elections now where we have to wait a month to get the results? What happened? Let's go back to voting in person on the same day with our ID, so we know who is voting and who they are, and that they are supposed to be voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Stephen D. Trout. Morning, sir.
Good morning. I am concerned that a lot of this information is not going to be enacted on, so I'm going to reread the last portion of this cease and desist letter. Boards of Supervisors have a problem. Each of you swore an oath to the United States Constitution and to the Constitution of the State of California. Both constitutions guarantee citizens the right to have their vote accurately counted and to elect their representatives. Your oath is not to the government, but to the Constitution and the people you represent. Certifying uncertifiable elections in a federal election can reach the level of treason. Do not assume just because county election officials have not been held accountable to this point that they will not be held accountable now and in the future. We pray those involved do not expose themselves or the county to this financial obligation. We respectfully demand that the county comply with both the California and federal constitutions rather than following newly enacted unconstitutional California laws. First, the process must be transparent. Second, only eligible voters should be allowed to vote. To meet these requirements, the county should have one-day hand-counted elections requiring ID to vote and mail-in ballots limited to legitimate absentee voters. Your thoughtful consideration of the matters contained in this letter and the requirements of your oath to the United States and California constitutions are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker card is for representatives from the Stanislaus Asian American Community Resource. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm here representing the Stanislaus Asian American Community Resource, or SACR for short, and we are representing the API community. Our members are all volunteer, and we have many different languages. All the members are from the county. So I'm from Vietnam, we have Vietnamese, Chinese, from the Philippines, and we have Hmong, Cambodian, Laos. Recently, we have a new member from India, from Pakistan, Korea, Japan, from the south, of course. So we have really we started in 2011 because there was a horrific triple murder of a Lao family that owned a little mom and pop little store over the west side, and they didn't know what to do. So a lot of the people that they were all staff of the Stanislaus County BHRS, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, and they jumped up and went to the rescue to the family, learn how to go through all the red tapes and have their loved one buried. And then after that, they decided there will be a big need for our county to have somebody representing the API community. So today I'm the president, and my name is Annie Tu Henrich. just here to share a little bit about why we're here. We just recently had we call it a scholarship gala, and this is our second year. And because we are such a small community root organization, we don't have a lot of money. So we reserved a room at the Veteran Center on Coffee, the ballroom, and the rent was $1,800, and it was a lot. And we thought if we could somehow get somebody to help us cover that, that money will go toward the scholarship for the API grad next year, 2025. So we asked a couple of our partners, and nobody wanted to help us. But we do have one very important board supervisor, Terry Woodrow. I asked him because because I'm on the board of the mental health BHS, and Terry also is on the board. So I approached and asked him, and he said he'll take care of it. So thank you so much, Supervisor Withrow, for your kindness, and we appreciate it very much. So just to give you a little quick result of our gala, we were able to collect and clear all the expenses, and we came out with $17,000. Thank you. So last year we made a little bit more, but our expense was bigger because we didn't know, we just pay. This year our expense a little bit smaller, so with that we're going to again offer $10,000 to the API grad, the class 2025, and they're all from the Modesto City School, which we work with, collaborate with. And today I did bring a little flyer to share with you about the gala. But next year at the spring, we don't know, May or April, we're going to do the scholarship award night. So I would invite all of you to attend just to see who these kids are, and their families are coming, and it's a big event. We don't have a lot to give. I wish we had $100,000 to give it to them, 10,000, but we start at 1,000 down to 750 to 5 and 300. And each student are very, very appreciative. They'll help them buy books, pay for what they need, so that they can go to higher education. And all of them went. Last year, they all went to Irvine State or Sacramento, UOP, Stanislaus State. So I think we did a good job. So again, thank you so much, Supervisor Woodrow. And we do have a little plaque for you.
Thanks, yeah.
Here you go. I don't want to drop it. So it says, Stanislaus Asian and Community Resource Accord, to Board of Supervisors Terry Withrow, an appreciation for your support of the API community in Stanislaus County.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you so very much.
Just real quick while you guys are here, just how much we appreciate what you guys do. You know, there's so many organizations in our community that we just don't hear about that do such crucial work. And what you guys do in the Asian community, I watched you over the last 14 years, all the things that you guys have been involved in. And there's a bunch of organizations just like you guys that really hardly ever get, you know, this, I don't need any recognition. I'm not doing anything. But what you guys are doing is amazing for your community, and I've seen it so many times. I've seen the various ceremonies and awards banquets that you guys have had, and you really are making a difference in the Asian community here in Stanislaus County, and you're what we're all about, right? Just the mix of our community here in Stanislaus County.
And we're very proud of all the work you do, and you're the ones that should be receiving the award, not me. So thank you guys.
We don't want any.
Thank
We do
you.
it because we love you.
Thank you for all you guys do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for your help. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Supervisor Buck Condit, you want to lead us in for He's a Jolly Good Fellow? Thank you so much. Any other members of the public that didn't turn in a public comment card that would like to speak, this is your opportunity. Mr. Morrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisors, Mr. Hayes and Mr. Bose. I'm just going to offer a couple of comments on the upcoming election, which is an important election with a lot of issues involved. There was an excellent article this morning in the Modesto Bee about all of the election security and processes that are being done by Donna Lindler and her staff. And having serviced equipment in that office for years, I can vouch that definitely there's a lot of careful details that are followed in the handling of the ballots. Now, much has been heard about wanting to go back to, same-day voting and getting back to having the results all hand tabulated. My ballot has 19 separate issues in it, and I live in the hamlet of Keys. But if that's a typical ballot with more than 200,000 ballots expected to be returned, that's close to 4 million separate votes that will have to be tabulated by the registrar and her staff. Trying to do that in one night by midnight without the use of machines is a formidable task. So the machines are going to be here to stay, and the registrar will also update us as the count goes on. So it's not like we don't hear anything and then magically on the day of certification the results are posted. So there's no perfect system for voting, but our voting system is about the best in the world. And so I trust it. I've already submitted my ballot. It's in the process to be certified and counted. And we will just stand by, and as the votes come in from around the world, since our service members also have the opportunity to vote, and their ballots will be coming in as well via mail, we'll count on Donna and her staff to do the outstanding job to give us an accurate tally. And even if the counting's all done, the counting may be done within 2 weeks, but even if it can't be certified, we will all know the results here in our local county of everything that's going on. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it. Any other members? All right, seeing none, there's a couple items that CEO Hayes will be talking about that will be pulled off consent calendar.
Yes, thank you very much. So we would like to remove item 5A5, that is our 2025 meeting calendar for the Board of Supervisors. We'll bring that back to the next board meeting. We just had a small error in the attachment. We want to fix that, so it'll come back next time. We also want to remove item B12 from the consent calendar. We'll have some brief discussion on that item.
All right, thank you, CEO Hayes. Any members of the public wanting to take any items off the consent calendar for further discussion? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board for a possible motion to approve all consent items other than item 5A5 and item B12.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Buck Condit, second by Supervisor Keiza. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. And comments from County Council Bose on item B12, and we do have written communication on this item.
Yes, we have communication from the Building Industry Association, and I think what my advice is that we hear from the district, the Burbank Fire Protection District, if they're here, with respect to the statements made by the BIA, and if they are here, have them come forward. I don't see anyone. So the BIA points out that the district failed to adopt a capital improvement plan which my research shows is a requirement as part of the process, and we don't have any evidence that the district did prepare a capital improvement plan. My advice would be to deny the setting of the public hearing and send it back to the district to allow them to come forward with the capital improvement plan. That'd be my advice.
So at this point in time, we're just going to delay this until the district has a chance to cure this?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Before we vote, we want to hear from the public.
All right, any members of the public wanting to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board for possible motion to delay this item.
The motion would be just to deny it.
No, to deny it, sorry.
But they do have the opportunity to come back.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Supervisor Withrow, second by Supervisor Buckcondit. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. All right, next is public hearing. Public hearing to consider adoption of the Northern Delta Mendota Region Pumping Reduction Plan and Stanislaus County groundwater well metering monitoring and reporting guidelines. The presentation will be presented by Rob Koslovy and Christy McKinnon with Department of Environmental Resources. And I'm going to open the public hearing. No written.
The public hearing when we're open for the public. Good morning, Chairman Graywall, Honorable Board, CEO Hayes, Council Bose. I stand before you today to introduce a presentation on a topic that is both critical and complex. Implementing a water reduction plan and water metering plan under the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, otherwise known as SGMA. But before our team delves into the specifics, I want to be open and transparent with you, as this is a difficult subject for me. Many of you know that I've always advocated for the importance of individual rights and local control. I've long held the belief that decisions affecting our lives should be made as close to home as possible, with minimal interference from the state or federal government. To say I'm cautious about government overreach would be an understatement. However, we now find ourselves in a situation where the state government has intervened and we are required to implement measures like water metering and reduction plans. I want to acknowledge that this mandate puts me in a difficult position, and I know it may do the same for many of you. I want to assure you that throughout this process, our focus has and will remain on minimizing unnecessary government intrusion and ensuring that the plans are implemented in a way that respects your rights as property owners and water users. We will need to work together to ensure that the regulations are applied fairly and that our efforts focus on sustainability rather than control. With us today is Christy McKinnon from Environmental Resources, our water manager, and Margaret Caligaris from Tri-Hydro Corporation. Also in the public, we have some representatives from the water districts that would like to have some sort of comment after we're done. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Christy.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, board members, Chairman Gruel, CEO Hayes, and Council Bose. Thank you for this opportunity to allow me to present my presentation on the Northern Delta Mendota.
Could you just pull it over to you?
GSA Group Pumping Reduction Plan and the Stanislaus County Well Metering, Monitoring, and Reporting Program Guidelines. Our intention is to conduct a public hearing to consider approval and adoption of the Northern Delta Mendota GSA Group Pumping Reduction Plan in the Stanislaus County Well Metering, Monitoring, and Reporting Program Guidelines. Today, your staff recommendation is to conduct the public hearing to consider approval and adoption of the Northern Delta Mendota GSA Group Pumping Reduction Plan and the Stanislaus County Well Metering, Monitoring, and Reporting Program Guidelines. To approve and adopt the Northern Delta Mendota GSA Group Pumping Reduction Plan as required by Section 1611 of the adopted Delta Mendota Groundwater Sustainability Plan, and to approve and adopt the Stanislaus County Well Metering, Monitoring, and Reporting Program Guidelines. I'd like to give you an update on our Delta Mendota GSP implementation status. On January 23rd of 2024, Stanislaus County approved a memorandum of agreement among the Delta Mendota Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Agencies, which would replace the existing coordination agreement and become effective upon adoption of the single Delta Mendota Subbasin GSP. On August 13, 2024, Stanislaus County adopted the Delta Mendota Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Plan, and that required a commitment to developing a pumping reduction plan by October 2024, with implementation of this pumping reduction plan in January of 2025. On October 23, 2024, the Northern GSA Group approved the pumping reduction plan at the Special Northern Region Management Committee meeting. The GSP inadequate determination was provided by the State Department of Water Resources on March 2nd, 2023. The inadequate determination means that the subbasin is facing state intervention, which includes enforcement and mandatory well metering, reporting, and well registration fees of up to $300 per non-exempt well, including a pumping fee of up to $40 an acre foot of pumped water, and that can increase to $55 an acre foot if the state exercises an interim plan. We have some good news. The state has been reviewing our single Delta Mendota GSP and is working with our coordination committee, and over a series of over 7 meetings, we hear that the potential probationary hearing will be moved from the first quarter of 2025 to the second quarter of 2025. So we're hoping that the state will review and accept our plan prior to our probationary hearing date, so that we do not have to face the loss of local control from state intervention. The pumping reduction plan has 6 components. The first component is a mandatory monitoring and data collection plan. The Northern GSA Group agreed to each address the requirement for component 1 on their own, because many of the GSAs already had these policies actively in place. Stanislaus County developed the Stanislaus County Well Metering, Monitoring, and Reporting Program Guidelines to comply with the minimum requirements of Section 16.111 of the Groundwater Sustainability Plan and the minimum requirements specified necessary for the monitoring and data collection plan component. And the guidelines have been designed so they can be used in line with an adopted groundwater sustainability plan as needed in the other subbasins within Stanislaus County, if necessary. The pumping reduction plan is also supported by the Stanislaus County Groundwater Ordinance. Section 9.37065 specifies that the adoption of new regulations to establish the frequency and timing of required periodic reports of groundwater information may be approved by the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors to monitor the existing condition of groundwater resources within the county, to determine trends, develop effective policies for sustainable groundwater management plans and policies. The new regulation shall specify the required information to be monitored, including water level and pumping data or other data necessary for any other method to determine groundwater production. We designed the program so that it's consistent with our groundwater ordinance, and it will be applicable in all out-of-district areas and unincorporated areas only if mandated by an adopted groundwater sustainability plan. It can be applied to other subbasins within Stanislaus County. It's required for all non-de minimis wells constructed after November 25th, 2014 to be consistent with the date that the groundwater ordinance and the county's discretionary well permitting program went into effect, and required for all existing wells that were constructed before the groundwater ordinance went into effect if they extract 10 acre feet a year or more. The Department of Environmental Resources believed it was necessary to give consideration for small pumpers that extract less than 40 acre feet a year because they're such a small percentage of the total impact of extraction across the Stanislaus County, Delta Mendota, out-of-district groundwater region and other areas of the county. Small pumpers may use ET data as an alternative for metering. They must participate in other well registration, monitoring, and reporting requirements if they also include surface water delivery reports. ET is evapotranspiration data. We have defined exempt wells that do not have to comply with the program as de minimis extractors in wells constructed before November 25th, 2014 that extract less than 10 acre feet of groundwater per year. It's important to note that these wells have been exempt because regulating them would not yield substantial benefits, it would be inefficient, and impose significant burdens on disadvantaged communities and underrepresented farmers. In order to implement the program, the well registration requirements, an estimated $137 well registration fee, which is one weighted hour labor rate. That's the current amount that the Department of Environmental Resources charges, subject to change, would be due to the Department of Environmental Resources before January 1st, 2026. So the plan would be implemented January 2025, and pumpers would have a year to complete the registration requirements and plan for the next water year. Including with the well registration would be a well completion report to detail details of well construction, so we can determine if the well is constructed to pump from the upper or lower aquifer, or if it's a composite well, or equivalent data by a licensed professional to verify that information. The wells will be required to be metered with documentation certifying installation and meter calibration completed within the past 5 years to be completed by January 1st, 2026. Acceptable meters are accurate within 2%, and this information needs to be provided with the well registration information to the Department of Environmental Resources before January 1st, 2026. Annual reports of groundwater extraction will be required by January 1st, 2026 with the well registration information, and each November 1st thereafter to align up with the water year after the initial well registration requirements are completed. The reports will include monthly groundwater extraction for the previous water year and include a photo of the meter reading for the final annual reading. More frequent reporting will be required if necessary in order to stay above trigger thresholds and to monitor and achieve groundwater level recoveries. The Department of Environmental Resources can inspect meters as necessary to determine compliance with the guidelines, the groundwater ordinance, and the adopted groundwater sustainability plan. Non-compliance and enforcement options were built into the pumping reduction plan, which includes an allocation backstop required pursuant to the groundwater sustainability plan, in addition to state intervention and the loss of local control, and county action authorized under sections 9.37045 of the groundwater ordinance, 9.37060, which provides the county authority to investigate and prohibit unsustainable extractions, in addition to enforcement and regulation under Stanislaus County Ordinance Code Chapter 2.92 for enforcement of code violations. It is imperative that we have landowner and well operator and public water agency cooperation to achieve our sustainability goals so that we can avoid probation and implementation of the state plan. I'm gonna take a pause and turn the presentation over to Margaret Caligaris, our project manager with Tri-Hydro Corporation, so she can provide information on the other elements of the pumping reduction plan.
Great, thank you, Christy. Good morning, everybody. As Christy introduced me, my name is Margaret Caligaris, and I work with the Department of Environmental Resources as one of their consultants. I'll be giving a brief overview about all of the other elements of the pumping reduction plan for the northern Delta Mendota region. If we could move to the next slide. Christy's in control. So this pumping reduction plan, as with the single GSP, was developed by EKI Environmental and Water. So I'll just be presenting their plan for the Board of Supervisors consideration. Tri-Hydro Corporation will be supporting the county with approval and implementation of this plan under an existing contract. And this plan itself, as Christy has already mentioned, was developed as required under Section 16.1 of the 2024 revised single groundwater sustainability plan. So this is fulfilling requirements that were included in our GSP. This pumping reduction plan addresses 6 required components. Christy already went over the first one, which is the monitoring and data collection plan, which for Stanislaus County is the well metering, monitoring, and reporting program guidelines. The remaining 5 required components include an overdraft mitigation plan, a groundwater level minimum threshold avoidance plan, water quality minimum threshold exceedance plan, a subsidence avoidance plan, and the groundwater allocation backstop. So the northern Delta Mendota zone is one of 4 zones within the Delta Mendota Basin. Stanislaus County is completely within the northern zone, and so this pumping reduction plan is specifically only for that zone. As part of the GSP, the Department of Water Resources requires that a groundwater model be delivered and also utilized in order to determine what a sustainable yield would be for the groundwater subbasin. For the northern region specifically, after looking at the groundwater modeling, it was determined that an approximate 9,000 acre-foot per year reduction to existing pumping would be required in order to achieve sustainability in the subbasin by 2040. Remember, this is just for the northern zone. This does not include overdraft in other areas. So in order to meet this goal of a 9,000 acre-foot reduction, the annual pumping for the next 5 years is anticipated to be reduced by 20% across GSAs. So within the northern zone, there's a collection of other groundwater sustainability agencies. Stanislaus County would be responsible for a 20% reduction for areas within their jurisdiction. So in order to meet the 9,000 acre-foot per year reduction, that that turns into approximately 1,800 acre feet per year for the next 5 years until we reach the 9,000 per year. So it would be 1,800 this first year, and then the next year it would turn into 3,600, and so on and so forth until we reach the 9,000. So the goal is to reach the minimum reduction by the end of 2030 in order to continue pumping sustainably within the subbasin until we reach overall sustainability. In the instance that goals are not reached, the GSA will be required to default to a predetermined allocation by the state, which would be a much stricter reduction across the subbasin itself. So one of the elements, as stated in the GSP and as included in this pumping reduction plan, is a groundwater level minimum threshold avoidance plan, specifically having to do with groundwater levels within our zone. Locations of representative monitoring wells that have been established and reported in the GSP with negative trends toward minimum thresholds for groundwater level, also as established by the GSP and reported appropriately, will be identified each year by February following data collection and data review. Investigation in the instance of a potential groundwater level minimum thresholds exceedance would be triggered by exceedance of the minimum threshold determined by the fall water level measurement, which is the seasonal low for a water year. The projected exceedance of minimum threshold based upon the previous 4 fall water level measurements, or the seasonal high spring measurement is projected to be lower than the monitoring well's specific target level, or is measured to be lower than the monitoring well's specific target level. Investigation requires, as stated in the PRP, additional water level measurement within 30 calendar days of discovery. If the data supports the identified trigger, cutbacks will be required. Cutbacks will be applied to non-de minimis extractors within the monitoring well's zone of impact. The zone of impact will be established using groundwater simulations, and it will be based off of each monitoring well within the representative monitoring well network. The determination of what the zone of impact for each monitoring well will look like will be validated as determined by the county by a qualified professional prior to implementing cutbacks. For Stanislaus County, a qualified professional is either a professional engineer, professional geologist, or equivalent. The areas where groundwater pumping directly influence water levels at the monitoring well are included within this zone of impact. Depending on the groundwater characteristics, these zones of impact could shift and could change depending on whether we're in a drought year, depending on the subsurface geology of the region. And so it is important that a qualified professional identify and delineate these zones of impact as these minimum threshold exceedances are identified or anticipated. These zones of impact, because they are fluid, may cross GSA boundaries, necessitating a common reduction strategy across the subbasin and especially across our zone. A uniform acre-foot per acre pumping limit will be identified and implemented within the zone of impact to achieve groundwater level recovery in the instance that a minimum threshold exceedance is anticipated. Groundwater levels and pumping will be measured monthly during implementation of the cutback to assess whether the cutback is allowing the proper recharge, and we're able to identify any additional needs accordingly. Excuse me. Pumping curtailment or cutback will be terminated once all the following have occurred. Either the cutbacks have been implemented for at least one water year, a period including consecutive spring and fall periods, and projected exceedance of minimum thresholds is projected to be avoided in the next year based on the current linear trend. Basically, the initial trigger of an MT exceedance was projected, which sparked this initial investigation. And then if we can confirm that the projection after this additional investigation shows that the previous thought that we were going to exceed is no longer valid, then that's one of these exit triggers. And also, the spring groundwater level has recovered to be above the calculated spring target level, so the calculated recharge level that's necessary in order for our subbasin to approach sustainability. In the instance that the GSA does not implement the appropriate cutbacks within 2 quarters, the groundwater allocation backstop for the subbasin will be enforced. Now, to the next portion, this element is specific to water quality. Within our GSP, our zone and our subbasin is pretty adamant that for water quality, we are only going to be addressing water quality issues in the event that water level is affecting and can be proven to affect water quality. We don't want to be held accountable or responsible for water quality issues that have naturally occurred in this subbasin. So in the instance that groundwater quality deterioration is linked to subbasin management, either pumping or recharge project implementation, GSAs must investigate the cause and implement appropriate mitigation measures. Pumping cutbacks are only triggered when a convincing linkage is established between changes in water quality and management actions or groundwater levels in the basin. Investigation to assess degradation cause and correlation with groundwater level changes is triggered when the exceedance of a water quality minimum threshold as determined by comparing the most recent seasonal low fall measurements to the defined water quality minimum thresholds, or projected exceedance of water quality minimum thresholds based on linear trend of previous 3 groundwater measurements from the fall or the recent seasonal low. Investigations must be completed within 60 days of reporting a water quality minimum threshold trigger. Mitigation will depend upon whether water quality degradation is linked to changing groundwater levels or implementation of projects, and management actions will similarly be affected by which cause. So for groundwater level, implementation of a pumping cutback in the form of uniform acre-feet per acre pumping limit within the zone of impact, similar to the water level mitigation that's been proposed in this pumping reduction plan, will be implemented within the zone of impact for the monitoring well in which this water quality hotspot was identified or issue was identified. Effectiveness and need for adaptation of curtailment volumes will be assessed on a quarterly basis. So we'll continue water quality monitoring to make sure that our mitigation of the issue will address the potential water quality degradation. For projects and management actions or recharge projects that have been implemented or are going to be implemented in the future as reported in the GSP, the recharge projects in the vicinity of the water quality issue that are considered to be potential causes will be paused until exit trigger is met, unless the GSA can justify that successful mitigation has been implemented through modified operation. Mitigation action for water quality issues, which again have to do with either water level or implemented recharge projects, either curtailment or mitigation plan that are used to address these issues, can be exited if any of the following occur. Groundwater level target is met and water quality at the monitoring well does not show a statistically significant increasing trend using the last 3 measurements. Or groundwater level target is met and a significant correlation between water quality and water level can no longer be established. Or the projected water quality at the monitoring well will not exceed the respective minimum threshold. Failure to comply with implementation or delay of more than 2 quarters will trigger the allocation backstop. And now we come to subsidence. So for our pumping reduction plan, there are two specific components: the critical infrastructure component and the hotspot mitigation component. For the northern Delta Mendota, the critical infrastructure component identifies the Delta Mendota Canal and the California Aqueduct as the two critical infrastructure areas within the subbasin. For hotspot mitigation, it applies to the entire basin. Wherever a hotspot or excessive subsidence is measured, then that is the area that it will be addressed. So the pumping cutback is triggered under the following conditions for each component. For critical infrastructure, the 3-year average subsidence rate exceeds 0.2 feet per year within a half mile of critical infrastructure. So within a half mile of the Delta Mendota Canal or a half mile of the California Aqueduct. Hotspot mitigation component, for hotspot mitigation component, the 5-year linear trend established based upon INSAR data indicates a projected subsidence of more than 2 feet by 2040 or more than a half foot by 2030 as the interim milestone as established by the GSP, or exceedance of any other interim milestone for subsidence. For the critical infrastructure component, if a cutback is triggered, the zone of impact identified for critical infrastructure is the zone of exceedance, so the area that the 0.2 feet per year subsidence exists within the half mile of critical infrastructure, plus the areas adjacent where the 3-year average subsidence rate exceeds 0.1 foot per year, contiguous with such defined zone of exceedance. The cutback will begin at 0.35 acre-feet per acre per year. That's the estimated sustainable yield for the Delta Mendota subbasin as calculated by the model and as reported in the GSP. And that allocation will be implemented within the zone of impact for the critical infrastructure component. Pumping cutbacks are increased based upon rolling average rates of subsidence. So in the instance that this 0.35 acre-feet per acre per year allocation is not adequately addressing the subsidence or appears to be addressing subsidence, that number is subject to change depending on the data and what a qualified professional who reviews the data will determine. No new lower aquifer or composite wells will be permitted within the zone of influence or zone of impact until the exit trigger is met for the critical infrastructure component. For hotspot mitigation, the zone of impact will be a radius of a half mile around any point that meets the cutback entry trigger. So at any location where the subsidence meets the entry trigger, a half mile zone of influence will be, or zone of impact radius will be drawn. Pumping cutbacks initiated at the 0.35 acre-feet per acre per year and will be adjusted based upon the rolling annual subsidence rates. So similar to the critical infrastructure component, we're addressing subsidence in the same way for hotspots. Pumping cutbacks may be relieved if the conditions under each respective component are met. For critical infrastructure component, the 4-year average subsidence rate within the zone of impact is smaller than 0.1 foot per year. For hotspot mitigation, subsidence due to lower aquifer pumping attributable to the subbasin is eliminated, or the 5-year linear trend established based on INSAR data no longer indicates exceedance of cumulative minimum thresholds or interim milestones. GSAs can provide justification in the form of a technical report from a qualified professional, so a qualified engineer or a geologist or hydrogeologist, equivalent as determined by the county, to sufficiently demonstrate that subsidence is not caused due to pumping within the zone of impact. The groundwater allocation backstop will be enforced if the GSA, Groundwater Sustainability Agency, fails to implement policy within 2 quarters. This brings us to the last part, the groundwater allocation backstop. As required by the GSP, the pumping reduction plan must include the groundwater allocation backstop, which is the pumping allocation basin-wide that is calculated by the model to achieve basin sustainability. And that, for the Delta Mendota, is 0.35 acre-feet per acre per year. This is a default enforcement action in the case that an MT, minimum threshold exceedance, is reached. And data supports the claim that the exceedance is the result of GSA action or inaction. In the event that the GSP is not approved, adopted, and implemented prior to precedent points to state implementing an allocation backstop for sustainable groundwater management. So in the event that our GSP does not get approved and is not adopted by the state, we don't get a sign-off, it will be expected that the state will enforce an allocation basin-wide that they've determined will assist or ensure that the basin reach sustainability by 2040. And based on our calculations, this seems to be the number that we would be able to expect.
Margaret, just real quick, I just want to make sure, this is our third shot at it, is that right, for this one? Is that what this is? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Mm-hmm. Occurrence of any of the following conditions will result in the groundwater allocation backstop. A lot of these conditions were already covered in the groundwater level minimum threshold exceedance avoidance plan, the water quality exceedance avoidance plan. So the water level minimum threshold exceedances for 2 consecutive years will spark this, or failure to achieve allocated overdraft mitigation pumping reduction by 2030, or failure to comply with the water level minimum threshold or water quality minimum threshold requirements, or failure to comply with the subsidence avoidance plan requirements. Cutbacks would apply to the whole northern Delta Mendota zone. Once triggers are resolved, GSAs can independently petition to exit the groundwater allocation backstop. Impacts that we can anticipate following implementation of the allocation backstop. With the 0.35 acre-feet per acre per year, we can anticipate that across the basin there would be an increase in fallowed lands because of a lack of water availability, or anticipated long-term conversion of agricultural lands to more drought-resilient crops, or parceling off in support of development or additional industry, reduction in county revenue and economic viability because of loss or reduction of industry that's very water dependent. And implementation of the PRP is currently the best proactive approach that we have as a GSA and as a subbasin as a whole in order to preserve, to the extent that we can, our groundwater resources and our groundwater use across the subbasin.
So, thank you, Margaret. Public notice was provided for the public hearing for consideration of adoption of the Northern Delta Mendota GSA Group Pumping Reduction Plan and the Stanislaus County Well Metering, Monitoring, and Reporting Program Guidelines set for action today on October 1st, 2024. The date of the public hearing was published in the Modesto Bee on October 13th, 2024 and October 20th, 2024 in compliance with the government code. The staff recommendation is to conduct the public hearing to consider approval and adoption of the Northern Delta Mendota GSA Group Pumping Reduction Plan and the Stanislaus County Well Metering, Monitoring, and Reporting Program Guidelines. To approve and adopt the Northern Delta Mendota GSA Group Pumping Reduction Plan as required by Section 1611 of the adopted Delta Mendota Groundwater Sustainability Plan, and approve and adopt the Stanislaus County Well Metering, Monitoring, and Reporting Program Guidelines. We are very happy to answer any questions.
Well, as you can see, this is as mentioned earlier, critical and a complex issue. And we do appreciate any other perspectives and welcome suggestions on the appropriate path to address the direction we've been given by the state, whether it's by your board or the public. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the presentation. Do we have members of the board that have questions for the presenters?
No question, just some comments later.
Later. Any questions for now? All right, then I'm going to take it out to the public. I do have two public comment, well, first I'm going to open the public hearing. And then I'm going to take it out to the public. I do have two public comment cards on this item. One is Anthea Hansen with the Del Puerto Water District from Patterson.
Morning, Chairman Graywall, board members, CEO Hayes, Council Bose, and members of the staff, Stanislaus County, and the public. Well, Sigma. Misery loves company, which is why I'm here this morning. It's been a long journey. We've been working as a Northwestern, or you formed your Northwestern Delta Mendota GSA in early 2017, and shortly thereafter joined the West Side Water Districts and the City of Patterson under an MOU so that we could work together to address the challenges that were presented to us by the 2014 Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. I am in the camp of Rob. I don't like over-regulation. I want to take care of my customers in my area with local knowledge and local ability to manage our resources. I am here today to provide for the record my opinion that the newly adopted single GSP for our Delta Mendota Subbasin abides by the requirements set forth by the Department of Water Resources and the State Water Resources Control Board for complying with the Sustainable Groundwater Management legislation. However, due to the expansive nature of the subbasin, implementation of the plan was left to each of our 4 GSP regions to develop a suite of pumping reduction plans that will indicate exactly how each groundwater sustainability agency will implement the groundwater sustainability plan within its region. As calculated, the northern Delta Mendota region is facing what we think is a manageable 9,000 acre feet per year reduction of reduced lower aquifer pumping, and we have little subsidence. However, the plan needs to be flexible enough to respond to downward trends quickly if hotspots develop, and then get us to return to regular operations as quickly as possible to limit the impacts of reduced ability to pump groundwater. We, as staff, with our consultants, believe that we have developed a pumping reduction plan that will allow this flexibility. And we are satisfied that it will serve, hopefully, meet the needs and the requirements of the state in getting us approved GSP. As drafted, the Northern Delta Mendota Region Pumping Reduction Plans allows the GSA's flexibility to meet the requirements in the GSP and address any identified groundwater coordination that will need to be utilized to reconcile potential impacts that spread across agency borders and likely across neighboring subbasin borders. Implementing SGMA and the Delta Mendota GSP will require a very high level of coordination between our local agencies, and we look forward to continuing to work and continuing to coordinate and cooperate with the county and our fellow Northern Delta Mendota Subbasin area GSAs to protect everyone's ability to access groundwater in order to provide our communities with safe and affordable drinking water, and for our farmers to produce food and fiber for the nation. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Next public comment card I have is from Chris White.
Good morning, Chairman Grewal, Board of Supervisors. I'm Chris White. I'm the Executive Director for the San Joaquin River Exchange Contractors. We're within Area 2, just to the south, and dealing with the same issues within our sub-area. I guess I want to digress a little bit and just say how much of a pleasure it was to sit and listen to employees that received 25-year and 30-year service awards, which speaks so highly in my mind of the county and your staff and the employment here within the area. But it also reminds me, I'm a civil engineer and I'm a land surveyor, first and foremost. And I started in this area, in the Los Banos area, and acting as and serving as city engineer or with that department for several of the small cities on the west side, Dos Palos and Los Banos in particular. And when I went to work in 1993, which is about the same time to receive this type of an award, I went to work for Central California Irrigation District as their district engineer. And one of my first jobs was to get our arms around the groundwater management in our area as it relates to our small communities as well. That includes Mendota, Fireball, Dos Palos, Los Banos, Castine, and Newman, and the small communities like Crow's Landing, Volta, and a few others. And so I've spent my career on this topic as district engineer, and then as 25 years as the general manager for Central California Irrigation Districts, and now since 2019 at the Exchange Contractors and as their executive director, and also at the GSA. I've always through our board leadership have looked at this and said, how can we be the most proactive that we can be to protect the local control over the decisions that need to be made relative to groundwater and groundwater extraction and the survival of our economies and the support our small communities. And I do think that given the situation where we're at, given the requirements of the GSP and the state Sigma requirements, and the fact that these districts, these northern sub-area districts, have really gone to work, rolled up their sleeves to figure out how to deal with this pumping reduction plan and the monitoring plan and what's being submitted to you today. I'm here to speak in favor of it, for the adoption of it, so that we can continue to be proactive and as water managers work within the tools that we have to continue to support this basin. And I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other members wanting to comment on this item? Tom Orvis.
Morning, Chairman Graywell, members of the board, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Bose. Tom Orvis, person of many hats in Stanislaus County. You know, Mr. Koslevy hit it right on the head, right off the bat. I'll say you guys are in a conundrum, but really you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. The reality is, as we look south of us in the valley, and what's happened with some of these probationary hearings. Now, some of them are being held up in court. They have minor injunctions going right now. We'll see where those go. I'm not going to bet the farm on it, that the locals win, but that's just me. One would look at this entire program called Sigma from 2014 and almost ascertain that the state created a plan whereby they gave local control purely with the goal of allowing the locals to fail and them the opportunity to step in. Now, I trust my friends on the west side. They've done a very good job of trying to mitigate things and trying to bring it back into a workable solution for their side. I'm sure that's happening in other parts of the valley. But remember, this is Stanislaus County. We are land of the haves and the have-nots in the water world. The east side, with Oakdale, Turlock, Modesto, irrigation districts are the lands of the haves. And unfortunately for the west side, they do have some very good irrigation districts, but the ability, actually not the ability, but the reliability on the state and federal programs make them the have-nots more often than they have the opportunity for surface water. Today, I'm going to let them speak on their behalf on that, but I would like to talk about the well mitigation program. And quite honestly, looking behind me, since this will be a county-wide program covering 4 different GSPs, and we're addressing it under one GSP, I am kind of shocked that representatives of the other 3 GSPs aren't here, other than county, and I know county staff is involved in all of those GSPs. We've done some things on the east side, some of the irrigation districts. You know, we talked about the 10-year programs that we've done to try and, where the districts are trying to give surface water to people out in the pumping areas. I just got an update from our water resources manager at Oakdale. This year, nearly 10,000 acres covered. While the need was there, infrastructure is coming into place this year and next. We were nearly 8,000 acre feet of water distributed. So one of my other things, you know, since 2014, I've been a member of the WAC, and when we wrote the groundwater ordinance, I wasn't farming, Terry. I look at that 40 acre threshold and say, last year on 20 acres of almonds, when it rained all year long and we had so much water, maybe I only pumped 30 acre feet. But this year, when you have the heat and all those other things, those same 20 acres of almonds may have taken, say, 47 acre feet. You know, when you're 19 or 20 acres, and that's something to think about. Maybe that threshold, and I know the state probably won't allow it, maybe that threshold needs to come up a bit because it seems very restrictive. Now, do we employ all the measures such as drip irrigation and all this? Yes. People are trying. So, gentlemen, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But I would, you know, I am, you know, one of those people that says, where are the people on the east side in this room today? They're going to be affected by the groundwater pumping plan as much, or they have the potential to be affected by that plan as much as the people on the west side. And I just ask, where are they today? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other members of the public wanting to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board for possible, or for any comments or questions for the presenters.
Want me to go first? Okay. First, thank you guys very much. Great presentation. Appreciate all the work you guys have done on this. And Rob, of course, I agree with you 100%. You know, very frustrating spot that we find ourselves in. And it is all about sustainability, but not control. That's, you know, it's funny, we go back to 2014, so 10 years ago, when we stuck our nose in this, when the county stuck our nose in this, and everybody was upset we were doing that at the time. But I think the mantra was that we continued to say back then that better us than the state. That's what we just kept saying. It's better that we get involved. If government's got to get involved, it's better that local government gets involved as compared to the state of California coming in. And now here we are with the spot that we're in at this point, at least with this these GSAs in our the northern Delta Mendota area. And that's our most, you know, difficult area to deal with. We know that as far as the county is concerned, it is the most difficult area. But again, it's just farmers wanting to farm and produce and provide for our communities, and no difference than the farmers in our other basins, Modesto, Turlock, all wanting to do the same thing. So anyway, it is a difficult spot to find ourselves in. I say now what I said back then again about letting us get involved, all of us trying to work these problems out ourselves as compared to the state, and here we are, like I said, the third try. You know, I don't know, we know the state's serious about this. We know the spot that we're in. It seems like it's taking, I don't know if it's taking our growers a long time to figure out that they're serious about this and we're going to be in a spot. As unjust as I feel it is, they're very serious. We're talking about 9,000 acre feet. I think that's probably about 2,500 acres. I'm thinking that if I was trying to do the math at 4 acre feet, is that about right? At 4 acre feet, about 2,500 acres that might have to come out of production. I'm just throwing numbers out there. Is that right? Anyway, just ballparking, depending on the crop, depending on what's going on there. We're talking about fallowing land to get through these things, which is just amazing. And so anyway, that was just the one observation I was going to make with that. And the other part that I think is so ironic that, you know, we're worried about subsidence, which is justified, and worried about the subsidence on the Delta-Mendota Canal. So we're worried about the subsidence on the Delta-Mendota Canal. And this is just my commentary. The Delta-Mendota Canal was built to deliver water, right? I mean, isn't that the purpose of the Delta-Mendota Canal? To deliver water, not only for agriculture, I know for other, but one of it is to deliver water to agriculture. And so because they won't deliver enough water, and because they'll shut off the pumps, because of the smelt, which I've lived this personally, so they won't deliver that water, so individuals have to turn their pumps on and causes subsidence on the Delta-Mendota. So it's like it's catch-22. It's bizarre where we are. I honestly still continue to believe there's enough water in this state for everybody to survive if we would manage it correctly. It's just all about management, and our hands are tied as far as we know how to manage it, we know how to do this and to make it correct work for everybody, but then we're tied by certain groups, and we all just need to meet in the middle is what we need to do. We need to protect the environment, there's no question, but we need to protect our industries, and there's a spot to meet in the middle. We've worked very hard in this county to do that. Our Water Advisory Committee that we put together back in 2014, we were ahead of our time. We were ahead of SGMA, and I think we were involved in some of the language that ended up in SGMA. But again, still this is serious stuff, what they're talking about doing here, and it could only get worse. Hopefully, sounds like we're close. This plan hopefully will be accepted. I know Modesto's sub-basin right now has been denied once, and we're going to go back. I think we're already back, and we're waiting to hear for a second one here in January to find out if that one's going to get denied again. And the same thing, we've got to take this seriously, and I see us I know this is going off the subject of this sub-basin, but this should be a lesson for other sub-basins. Look at what's going on here. I know in Modesto, there's fighting amongst ourselves. There's fighting amongst farmers on the, that are within the sub-basin versus those. Tom, you talked about it a little bit. We have ones that are on the east side that are out of district. We have got to figure out ways to mitigate these things. I mean, we can say, yeah, they should just not stop. They should stop farming there, and I don't know how many tens of thousands of acres would go out of production out there. That's not realistic. That's not realistic. And so I see it even in my own neighborhood. We have infighting going on amongst those who farm out in Modesto's irrigation district. And Modesto Irrigation District has come up with some plans to try to move water around. They're trying to take in years of surplus to move water into other areas. But then I see this same old, it's kind of like, great, let them go out of business, that'll just be more water for me. It's that self-serving attitude, whereas we're in this together against the state. It's not us against each other. And anybody who pits us against each other is just wrong. I know we've had water sent to Del Porto. We've had water come out of the Modesto sub-basin, in essence, that's gone to Del Porto. The Lyons family did that, and that's great. That's what we need to do, is move water around. There's nothing wrong with that. But then that same family can't argue that it's not right to send water up to the hills on the east side. We can't have our cake and eat it too. And that's what I see happening, and it pits us against each other. And that's what the state wants, right? Because we can't figure it out, and they'll come in and take it over. And that's not going to end well. So So anyway, for what that's worth, I'm just using this as an opportunity to ask everybody to look at what's going on. I applaud what we've come up with here. I know it took 3 tries to get there. Not necessarily our fault, but we need to take this seriously, that the state will come in and take over. We see what's going on in Tulare right now. And so I think what you guys have done here is good. It sounds like this is gonna pass muster, hopefully, with the state. But I hope that other basins are looking at this and taking this as a warning that you're gonna end up in the same spot as what's happening here with the Northern Delta Mendota. And if we don't take it seriously, and we've got to figure out ways to work with ourselves, work amongst ourselves to spread this water around, to mitigate these depletions, groundwater depletions. And the answer to mitigate isn't to just fallow land. That's not going to be the answer. We have got to figure out ways to move water around when we've got surplus around the various districts within this county. So thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate your presentation, and I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this for everybody, and I hope others will look at this as an example, that maybe not wait till the 3rd try until we're down to our last strike. Let's try to do this when we first get in the box and figure this out. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to support this.
Great. Any other comments?
Sure, thank you.
Supervisor.
So the easiest part, who would have thought, but the easiest part of trying to come up with a sustainable plan was coming up with the number, the 9,000 acre feet, right? In the end, these numbers were huge, beyond our recognition early on, and now we have a target. Now the difficult part, really the difficult part is what Anthea was talking about, how it affects other basins around you, how to allocate it between everyone. And you've done great work, and I have to appreciate both you, Anthea, and Chris and Tom for showing up today and talking about, coming up with a solution, because burying your head in the sand isn't going to work. State's going to come in and take over your area, and we're going to end up with less water in the end, I believe, because again, you know best, your growers know best, but everyone has to be on the same side. We alluded to the Tulare Lake Basin, and I think it's important that everyone go back and read what's happening down in Tulare. There was the Kings River had refused to sign off, and the whole GSA imploded. There is right now a preliminary injunction. The Farm Bureau had sued, and how long will that last? I don't know, but it's not going to change the outcome, but it might make them feel good for a while. And I appreciate that we're looking for success here. We're looking to move forward with success. And down in Tulare, the city of Hanford and the county now are probably going to have to take over the GSA. And that's something, I want the county to be a party to it. I don't want the county to be in charge of it. And although we're just leading the discussion. So I'm going to support this again. It's a tough situation. Supervisor Withrow is right. In the state of California, in most years, there's enough water if we're willing to move it around. We're fighting a force that's bigger than us. So I appreciate those comments. To Rob, Margaret, and Christy, thank you very much for all your hard work on this also.
Any other comments? Sure. Supervisor Chance Condon?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you so much for a presentation today. Thank you for those in attendance who came here to speak. We greatly appreciate it. Are we going to comply? Absolutely, we will, but will it be enough? We all know the answer to that. The state will continue to infringe. They will continue to come back and infringe upon our way of life, infringe upon our economy here, and how we do things. And that is the real battle as we move forward. And as Terry said very wisely, we're not in a battle amongst one another. And that's where we need to unite. There's strength in numbers. I remember, and I was a staffer for Assemblyman Adam Gray when we marched on the state capitol quite some time ago. And, that might be time to do that again. And we need to band together now more than ever, because obviously our way of life is under constant threat from the state. And we need to honestly draw a line in the sand, and we need to know what that line is to where, we're just not going to take it anymore. Obviously, we are outgunned in a lot of ways, and that is why we have to band together, as Supervisor Withrow said, and this can't be a fight amongst each other, whether it's east or west. We're all in the same boat. We're either going to thrive together or fall together. And so it's more imperative that we come together now and that we do bound together, and so that we can fight against these constant infringements and these constant threats and attacks from the state of California. So again, obviously, we're going to support this, we're going to comply, but we need to keep in the back of our minds of who the real, threat is coming from on this, and just, will this be enough? And again, it won't be, and that is why we have to know where to draw the line in the sand moving forward.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rob, Christie, Margaret, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for all who spoke. I agree 100% with my colleagues. This is our third time. We want to keep local control. We want to keep the state out. And so I'll be supporting this.
All right, well, thank you. Enough said on this. I'll be supporting this as well. Can I get a possible motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Supervisor Case, a second by Supervisor Withrow. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Close the public hearing. All right, next is discussion items. First is item 7.1, approval to accept the California Department of Social Services Children's Crisis Continuum Pilot Program grant in the amount of $8.5 million, retroactive to July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2028. And doing the presentation will be Tony Vartan with Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning again, Chairman Grable, members of the board, CEO Hayes, and County Council Bose. Thank you very much. I'm here with our staff with Behavioral Health Services, and we are here to provide information on this board item. So as mentioned, this is to request approval to accept the Children Crisis Continuum Pilot Program grant awarded to BHRS by the California Department of Social Services and share information about the partnership. With me this morning are Carrie McGee, Assistant Director of Clinical Operations, and Karen Servas, Administrative Manager for BHRS. Also in the audience, CEO of Asparanet, Mr. Vernon Jones, and our consortium partners from Child Welfare, Juvenile Justice, and BHRS. The Central Valley Consortium with Stanislaus, San Joaquin, and Merced counties was formed in 2020 to develop regional strategies for improving behavioral health and welfare of children and youth residing within the 3 counties. Since the formation of the consortium, the Behavioral Health, Child Welfare, and Juvenile Justice Departments across 3 counties have come together to assess and address unique needs of the foster youth, particularly those with intensive and complex needs. The Central Valley Consortium identified the following unmet needs of the foster care population across 3 counties: lack of local crisis level of care, lack of placements that address the unique needs of the region's foster youth, limited coordination of care with siloed step-down and or aftercare services and supports, limited transitional services to support youth and families as they step down from out-of-home and or crisis care, and lack of highly trained and supported resources families who can address the unique needs of communities' foster youth experiencing complex needs. I want to thank Asparanet and our 3 county consortium partners, as this is a transformative project, a children's crisis continuum campus that will change the landscape of behavioral health services for children and youth of our region. This project will allow us to address long-standing gaps in our Central Valley and here in our community. So at this point, I will go ahead and turn this to staff to cover funding as well as projects continuum of services, and we'll start with Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. So I'm going to give you an overview of the grant program, and Carrie will then transition over to the program itself. So the Children's Crisis Continuum pilot program, signed into the law under Assembly Bill 153, provides funding through June 30, 2028 to address gaps in the continuum of services and placements for foster youth so that their behavioral, developmental, and physical needs are met within the least restrictive care environment. The California Department of Social Services, also referred to as CDSS, released a request for proposals in August 2022 to allow counties or regional collaboratives of counties to develop robust, highly integrated continuum of services designed to serve foster youth in crisis. The primary function of the pilot program is to provide therapeutic interventions, specialized programming, and short-term crisis stabilization to permit the seamless transition for the appropriate treatment of foster youth between placement settings and healthcare programs, while ensuring that all the necessary health and social services are available within the continuum. In 2021, the Central Valley Consortium began meeting with Aspiranet, a community-based organization that is contracted to provide foster care and behavioral health supports and services in all 3 counties included in the consortium. At the same time, Aspiranet was completing its strategic plan to transform services to better meet the needs of youth and families referred to their organization. In August of 2022, as stated before, CDSS released the RFP for the pilot program, and members of the Central Valley Consortium and Aspiranet worked collaboratively to apply for funding to address the unmet needs of foster youth in the region. With Stanislaus County BHRS serving as the lead on behalf of the consortium, the application for funding was submitted on December 1st, 2022, requesting $12,157,653 in funding for a proposed crisis continuum of care. On February 23rd, 2023, BHRS received a tentative award letter from CDSS notifying the consortium of the intent to award $8.5 million in grant funds for the pilot program, and this represented a reduction of $3,657,653 in the amount requested in the application. So therefore, BHRS worked closely with CDSS, Stanislaus County's Child Welfare and Probation Departments, Aspiranet, Merced County, and San Joaquin County, starting in April 2023 to revise the pilot program components and to finalize the methodology, the work plan, and the budget. This process was very lengthy and consisted of bi-weekly meetings with the partners, technical assistance meetings with CDSS, submission of multiple drafts of the work plan and budget to CDSS for their review and their feedback, and then incorporating CDSS guidance and partner guidance and comments into the plan. The plan revision process took 12 months from start to finish. BHRS submitted the final work plan and budget to CDSS for approval on April 22nd, 2024. CDSS subsequently approved the revised work plan, incorporating it into their standard agreement, which is attached to this item, which BHRS received on July 3rd, 2024, with a required grant term start date retroactive to July 1st, 2023. And now I would like to introduce Carrie McGee, BHRS's Assistant Director of Clinical Operations, to provide an overview of the pilot program.
Thank you, Karen. The pilot program will have an integrated service flow with a single hub of case management for the entire continuum of care located at the soon-to-be-constructed Hope Forward campus in Turlock, the construction of which is funded through the California Department of Healthcare Services Behavioral Health Continuum Infrastructure Program grant awarded to Aspiranet. Once completed and licensed, Hope Forward adds additional beds for several levels of care within the continuum. In an integrated system, there is a single integrated case management system that supports the entire continuum of care, from traditional home-based care to the most restrictive settings such as a psychiatric health facility. Community-based supportive services are woven into every point in the continuum. The pilot program will address the unmet needs by increasing local services and supports, offering alternatives to hospital and emergency department stays during times of crisis, reducing out-of-county transfers, and offering a continuum of enhanced services that will lead to decreased time in out-of-home placements. Programs aim to reduce law enforcement contact, ultimately resulting in better behavioral health outcomes. The program is designed to offer continuity of care with transitions from higher levels of care to supportive care in the community. The pilot program provides funding for foster youth, and other funding sources will enable non-foster youth to be served. AspiraNet will have a mechanism to serve commercially insured youth. However, the populations that the county is responsible for, including uninsured, Medi-Cal, and foster youth, will be the priority of the pilot. AspiraNet will operate several of the required pilot program components at their new Hope Forward campus in Turlock to address gaps in the continuum of services for youth in the 3-county region. For youth and families with established providers, AspiraNet will coordinate care, enrich services and supports, and strengthen continuity of care with the current provider. The pilot-funded programs at the Hope Forward campus include a crisis stabilization unit, children's crisis residential program, psychiatric health facility, wellness center, and family visitation unit. Construction of the new facilities is scheduled to be completed in July of 2026. An overview of each program is provided on the following slides. The Children's Crisis Stabilization Unit, or CSU, is designed to support youth whose crisis needs are not able to be addressed by existing crisis programs. Those youth involved in the neighboring short-term residential therapeutic program that experience a crisis episode could be served in the CSU. The CSU will provide assessment, collateral, therapy, and referral for up to 24 hours for youth experiencing a mental health crisis. The new CSU will be licensed as a 24-hour healthcare facility with a 2-bed capacity. AspiraNet will also provide CSU services at its existing facility in Merced, which has a 2-bed capacity. Therefore, the CSU bed capacity for the pilot program will be 4 beds total. The Children's Crisis Residential Program, or CCRP, will provide a non-hospital alternative for youth in crisis. As with the CSU, by establishing a local CCRP, hospital systems will experience a decrease in youth accessing emergency departments for crisis care. For those youth who are unable to stabilize in the CSU, the CCRP provides short-term crisis care services up to 10 days in an individualized structured environment. Youth referred to the CCRP are not actively suicidal or homicidal, but are experiencing an acute mental health crisis. The CCRP bed capacity is 4 beds. The Children's Psychiatric Health Facility, or PUF, provides a highly individualized, therapeutic, secure setting for youth who require inpatient treatment. The PUF will provide comprehensive psychiatric and physical assessments and treatment for youth experiencing an acute crisis episode that cannot be resolved with lower-level interventions. The PUF will also provide non-clinical supports and services to increase skills for decreased out-of-home stays and increased long-term stabilization. The PUF will have a 4-bed capacity. The Wellness Center is designed as a coordination hub for youth and families and serves multiple purposes. Many youth experience events that disrupt the continuity of care. This program offers comprehensive support for youth and families, including assistance with transitions to and from the intensive programs, navigation of community resources, and access to a variety of services. The program provides a space for youth and their caregivers to connect through education, peer support, and networking opportunities. It will offer structured supervised visitation and pro-social activities to encourage positive development and behaviors. The Family Visitation Unit is designed to reestablish and maintain strong relationships between family members. This visitation home will allow youth to share a home on site with their family for a single night or multiple nights while receiving 24-hour support, modeling, and coaching from trained staff as needed. Families can visit in a home setting anywhere from hours to days. The length of time will be based on the unique needs of each youth and family, but visits are expected to increase in length as the youth nears their transition to home. The home will have adequate space for siblings when it is appropriate. I'm going to hand it back over to Karen to cover the project timeline.
Great, thank you, Carrie. After today's approval to accept the award from the California Department of Social Services, the projected timeline for implementation of all Pilot program components include, by spring of 2025, we will have executed related agreements with Merced County, San Joaquin County, and Espirinet. We will be bringing those to the board in spring. By July 1st, 2025, the individual counties may choose to execute agreements for non-pilot funded services with Espirinet. As early as January 2026, Espirinet's startup period will begin for CCP funds. The Hope Forward campus construction is scheduled to be completed by July 1st, 2026. Between July 1st and December 31st, 2026, Espirinet will obtain facility licensing and onboard all CCP-funded staff, and full pilot program implementation at the Hope Forward campus is expected by December 31st, 2026. Stanislaus County BHRS will subcontract with Espirinet to provide the funded programs listed on the previous slides. BHRS will return to the board to seek authority to enter into an agreement with Espirinet for these services. BHRS will also return to the board in the future to seek authority to enter in agreements with Merced County and San Joaquin County as the remaining members of the consortium. Personnel assigned to the grant from each county will provide monitoring, data collection, fiscal reporting, and participate in all pilot program convenings. In addition, the counties will work with Espirinet directly to ensure proper placement of youth in the program and provide support for youth receiving pilot program funded services. Because this is a complex multi-county project, each county may choose at its own discretion to enter into services agreement with Espirinet funded with non-pilot revenue to share costs associated with the continuum. So Stanislaus County's role is to serve as the lead agency for the Central Valley Consortium, but bears no responsibility to fund services for youth from other county outside of pilot program funds. The Children's Crisis Continuum Pilot Program Grant Award is $8.5 million for the term starting retroactive July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2028. CDSS requires the grant period start date of July 1st, 2023. However, no financial transactions have posted in fiscal year 2024. BHRS will serve as the lead department with Child Welfare Services and Probation serving as supporting departments. Personnel assigned to the grant from within the county will provide contract oversight, grant management, monitoring, convening, data collection, fiscal reporting, and program evaluation. Personnel from BHRS and CSA will work directly with the other counties in Espirinet to ensure proper placement of youth and provide support for youth receiving pilot program services. Probation staff will provide referrals, participate in program planning, and serve as a member of the program work group. Child welfare staff will participate in program planning, serve as a member of the program work group, and liaison between CWS and Espirinet for relative program-related items. As a reminder, programs by Espirinet utilizing pilot program funding are the Crisis Stabilization Unit, Crisis Residential Program, the PUF, Wellness Center, and Family Visitation. The pilot program will fund the first 4 months of startup costs for these programs, and those are indicated in the column titled FY or fiscal year 2026. That's the almost $4.5 million. Once the facilities are licensed and program operations commence, pilot program funding will only be used to support services at the Family Visitation Unit. So that's the approximately just under $700,000 per year for Espirinet in fiscal year 27 and 28. All the other services will be provided through individual contracts with each county using other funding sources to ensure ongoing and sustainable services. The BHRS 2025 adopted budget did not include appropriations and estimated revenue to support the pilot program grant. The budget journal will increase appropriations and estimated pilot program grant revenue by $631,494 for fiscal year 2025 in the BHRS budget unit. There is no impact to county general fund. And I'd like to turn it back over to Tony to present the staff recommendations.
Thank you, Karen and Carrie. We have before you requesting to authorize the Behavioral Health Director or designee to accept the California Department of Social Services Children's Crisis Continuing Pilot Program grant for the planning and implementation of the pilot project for an integrated continuum of care for foster youth who have serious behavioral health conditions in the amount of $8.5 million for the period of retroactive July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2028. Second, authorize the behavioral health director or designee to sign and execute the grant agreement and other documents required by the CDSS for the CCCPP grant. And lastly, direct the auditor's controller to increase appropriations and estimated revenues by $631,494 for fiscal year 2025 in the Behavioral Health and Recovery Services budget unit as detailed in the attached budget journal. And this concludes our presentation, and staff and I are here for any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for the presentation. Any questions by members of the board to staff on this item? Comments? Any comments, questions? We'll make them after. All right, then I'm going to take it out to the public for any questions by members of the public on this item. Seeing none, I'm going to bring back to the...
I just wanted to make sure when and if the board does make a motion on this item, in the motion, can you include that we are striking staff recommendation number 3? Thank you.
Right, bringing it back to the board for additional comments.
Yeah, if I could, really quick, Carrie and Karen, appreciate what you had to say. Vernon, who's in the back from SpearNet, the Chief Executive Officer, I think that's your title, right? They did a groundbreaking for this Hope Forward campus. You have to remember the need in the community. This has been a missing spot. And the 3-county area, actually, in Merced, Stanislaus, and San Joaquin County, have been kids have been staying in the hospital and or being shipped out to Sacramento or some other area. So down in South Turtle Rock, there's going to be this facility, which is much needed. The fact that they got $30-some million, $33 million, I think, to build the campus that's already being utilized, but it's going to be expanded. And so exciting things happening. It won't come soon enough. And I think back to my conversation with now Mayor Sue Zwollen, as she was a emergency room nurse. She would call me back in the 2008, 9, 10, and say, we've got kids, we've got children in here, teens in the emergency room that have been here for a week or 2 weeks, and there's no place to place them. So this is, again, something I'm very supportive of, and I appreciate SpearNet. And Tony, you putting the pilot program at the groundbreaking. We had the directors of both Merced and San Joaquin Counties Behavioral Health, and it was just fantastic, putting something together where we can share the cost and on a go-forward basis.
Great, perfect. I'm just going to share what Vito said. This is a long time coming, and we know these kids were going Bakersfield, maybe, where, and so it's great to have them here close to their families, and it's just great to see this. This is how it's supposed to work, right? With Merced and with San Joaquin, the Stanislaus, all of us together, come together in the most efficient way to do this, and sharing resources and sharing this grant. So we're very proud that this is happening here, and thank you guys all very much for your work, Carrie, Karen, Tony. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if I may say, this is a truly dream campus for foster youth and children. I was fortunate enough to be selected to participate on a group to design the foster care model care at the state level. It was an 18-month project, and these were components and things that we were talking about that would be really a dream to bring together. And we're probably one of first few counties that we have this opportunity, so it will be a true model, and others probably will take advantage of that. But I also want to take the opportunity to, again, thank all our partners on the consortium, as well as SpearNet, who's been over 30 years in our county, and they've been great partners. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, if there's no any other comments, I would entertain a possible motion with striking number 3 outside of the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendations with the exception of item number 3.
Motion by Supervisor Withrow.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Buckconnell. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Item 7.2, approval to authorize the Department of Environmental Resources to administer a procurement program to comply with Senate Bill 1383 requirements. Will Richards from DER will be presenting this item alongside Rob Kostleby.
So before I say good morning, I need to look at the clock, so.
Still morning.
Well, good morning.
Keep skipping.
Chairman Graywall, Honorable Board, CEO Hayes, Council Bose. The item before you today is to approve and authorize the Department of Environmental Resources to administer a procurement program to comply with Senate Bill 1383. Presenting today is our Solid Waste Manager, Will Richards, and will be available for questions at the end. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors, CEO Hayes, and County Council Bose. My name is Will Richards, and I'm the Solid Waste Manager for Stanislaus County. This morning, the department will be presenting an organic waste product procurement program to comply with the requirements of Senate Bill 1383. In today's presentation, we'll go over the background of the regulations, procurement requirements, our proposed distribution plan, fiscal impacts, and the department's recommendation moving forward with compliance. So just a brief background, you may have heard me up here before talking about Senate Bill 1383. It was signed in 2016 by Governor Brown. The intent of the law was to decrease methane emissions from landfills and expand food recovery efforts throughout the state. As you may recall, the regulations brought about the most significant changes in our waste management practices in over 30 years. And the new regulations also require that jurisdictions throughout the state begin procuring recovered organic waste products. So going into our procurement requirements, each jurisdiction is tasked with purchasing an amount of recovered organic waste products in proportion to its population. These products could be comprised of compost, mulch, electricity from biomass, or renewable gas in the form of transportation, fuel, heat, or electricity. Due to ongoing logistical challenges, the state did work to revamp the procurement targets in 2023 and 2024 to help jurisdictions meet these requirements. Assembly Bill 1985 was signed in 2022, which implemented the phased-in approach that you see on your screen. In 2023, jurisdictions were required to procure 30% of their annual target, and 24, 65% of their annual target. And then in 2025 and beyond, we'll be required to procure 100% of our annual target. So looking at our individual requirement, based on the per capita calculation that you see there, Stanislaus County's annual procurement target is 9,041 tons of recovered organic waste product. Basically, you take your population of the county, used from the Department of Finance estimates by the 0.08 tons per person, and we get that 9,041 tons. So looking at the chart on the screen, it shows the variety of procurement options that are available to us and the amounts required of each option to meet the target of 9,041 tons per year. For this particular program, the department is recommending proceeding with procuring 5,244 tons of compost, which will meet the requirements. So our proposed plan, the department has entered into an agreement with Recology to procure the required amounts of compost for the years 2023, 2024, and 2025. While the dollar amount of the agreement does not need board approval, we felt that it was important that the board authorize the proposed process that we have here to distribute the materials. So getting into that a little bit, to meet our 2023 and 2024 targets, the staff is proposing to partner with the Stanislaus County Farm Bureau to host a lottery for eligible customers who are in need of 25 or more tons of compost. In total, this lottery will be distributing 5,000 tons of compost to meet the requirements, and each eligible recipient can receive up to 500 tons of compost free of charge to them. However, all recipients of the compost from the program will be responsible for the shipping and delivery of the materials. Moving forward, in spring of 2025, the department's seeking out multiple giveaway locations throughout the county that'll be accessible by all unincorporated residents and businesses. We've also reached out to the city of Modesto to explore procuring a portion of the materials from their Jennings Road facility. They have it in smaller, more convenient bags, so that might be helpful for some folks. And then the remaining amount that's towards our required target will then be distributed to eligible customers through the proposed lottery system that we have before you today. And the department would plan to continue the giveaway program on an annual basis. The fiscal impact of the initial agreement with Recology is $110,314 with a not to exceed amount of $125,000. That initial agreement will cover the costs necessary for compliance for 2023, 2024, and 2025. And the initial procurement agreement will be allocated from the second cycle of the SB 1383 Local Assistance Grant Program, with the future procurement purchases being reallocated from the department's existing budget at an estimated cost of $60,000 per year. So our recommendation today is to authorize the Department of Environmental Resources to implement a lottery giveaway of eligible materials to meet the procurement requirements of SB 1383 to meet the annual targets of 2023 and 2024, and to authorize the Department of Environmental Resources to implement a giveaway of eligible materials to meet the procurement requirements of Senate Bill 1383 at multiple locations in the county to meet the annual target of 2025 and annual procurement targets thereafter. And I am here for any questions that you may have.
Is the state paying Recology?
No. Well, on this initial, yeah, so we have a 1383 assistance grant. So that funding can be used to implement the garbage service programs that we've already implemented or to assist us with procuring the products. So the county will be using those funds to purchase the initial amount, and then moving forward, it's on the county's ratepayers to procure that.
And it's okay because it's a lottery system. If I apply to get some for my property, I can still vote?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It'd be fine.
Any questions?
This doesn't fall into gift of public funds. And what we're giving away.
It's required by statute, so I think we're covered.
And if I could just chime in on that, because our clear intent and what we'd like to do is to make as much of the material available to as many people as possible. In order to move this amount of material, we just don't have it stacked up in bags somewhere where an average person could go put it in their trunk of their car and take it. So we're doing this this phased implementation, and on the front end, we have to do this in large bulk quantity, and your average person in the community is not going to be able to haul, I think, is it 25 tons? Is that what it is? Yeah. So therefore, the only fair system to do so would be a lottery system. And then from there, hopefully we'll get to a point where most people in the community could get to some location where you could receive some of these materials going forward.
My brother has been getting truckloads out of there, 25-ton truckloads from Recology for, I don't know, this year they've been taking it out. So I know it's available.
Okay.
All right, taking it out to the members of the public. Any members of the public having any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board for further comments or a possible motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Keiza, second by Supervisor Buck-Condit. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, thank you so much, appreciate it. Correspondence, acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Board of Supervisor reports. Any members of the board that have anything that they would like to report on? Anything excited they did in this past week?
Yeah, groundbreaking Hope Campus that we just talked about.
Perfect. All right, next, legislative, fiscal, and management report. But prior to that, we have, our Congressman's office, Gavin Klein, is representing Congressman John Duarte, and give us an update on what the Congressman's doing in the district.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board, county staff, and community. Thank you. Gavin Klein, Congressman Duarte's office. Just want to give you all a quick update on two bills Congressman Duarte has introduced. Congressman Duarte has introduced House Resolution 9942, which is the Valley Fever and Awareness Vaccine Development and Manufacture Act of 2024. This bill will expedite a human valley fever vaccine, which is a fungal infection that affects thousands across our valley. Sacramento national politicians have overlooked the valley fever because it doesn't impact larger cities like Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Francisco, but it's a serious health threat for our valley families. And what Congressman Duarte bills does, it appoints a federal vaccine coordinator, which increases awareness and invests $250 million. It's a huge forward step in protecting our valley communities, ensuring Washington and Sacramento prioritize our health. Congressman Duarte is proud to have more supported Democrats and Republicans in any valley fever bill this year, and will continue to work with both parties to make sure that we get real results. Another bill I wanted to talk about, and we often know that the U.S. immigration system is broken. In Washington, political infighting for decades has prevented necessary and critical reforms from being implemented. Instead of bringing bipartisan compromise legislation to the House for a floor vote, both Republicans and Democrats have sought to advance partisan bills that have no chance of becoming law. And that's why Congressman Duarte is proud to introduce House Resolution 10034, which is the Border Security and Immigration Reform Act. And what this bill does is it completes the border and hires more Border Patrol agents, ensures only U.S. citizens can vote in federal elections, and remove non-citizens from state voter rolls. It has a temporary protected status for 5 years with eligible individuals, including DACA recipients, undocumented immigrants who have resided in the U.S. for 5 years and not have convicted of any certain crimes, and in certain other undocumented individuals meeting specific requirements. And during this 5-year period, qualified individuals will be eligible to legally reside and work in the U.S. But there is a conditional transition of status. So an automatic transition from the temporary protected status to permanent legal status if the following conditions are met. Within 5 years, the Government Accountability Office certifies the southern border is secured, and Border Patrol achieves an 80% or higher detection and apprehension rate on illegal border crossings. And if these border security provisions are not met, the temporary status expires. And as well includes a reform to the H-2A agricultural guest worker program and creates a pathway to legal status. It also creates a blue card employment process contingent on good standing with law enforcement. And the Border Security and Immigration Reform Act takes a realistic approach to border security and comprehensive immigration reform by melding priorities of both Republicans and Democrats. And Congressman Duarte is honored to introduce this, and we were able to do a press conference about this yesterday in Livingston, joined by us by many mayors, supervisors, community leaders, as well as council members throughout the district. Thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you for the update. Appreciate it, Gavin. All right, CEO Hayes.
Just want to acknowledge that earlier this month, our department heads, we did participate in our annual legislative kickoff with both our federal and state legislative advocacy firms. So we're preparing for the upcoming legislative session. We also look forward to participating in any community project requests that may be available. We have a workshop for our staff in January. And then also just one last reminder, as you heard during public comment, we have an election in 1 week. The general election is 1 week from today. So please visit standvote.com for our county voter information guide, as well as vote center and drop box locations, as well as checking election results after the polls close. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for the update. So I'm going to adjourn and ask County Council to report on our closed session items.
Thank you. We have several items on our closed session agenda this morning, still for the next 15 minutes. The first is a conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision D1, one case to consider, MDS Business Solutions LLC versus County of Stanislaus. That's in the Stanislaus County Superior Court, and the case number is CV 24007-352. The second item is a conference with real property negotiations, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. The property is 4601 Clarabelle Road, Modesto. The APN is 062-031-004. The county negotiators are Arden Shaverton, David Lehman, and myself, Thomas Bose. Negotiating party is Justin Ross, Janelle Van Dyke, and Donald E. McWilliams. under negotiation is both terms of payment and price. The third item is a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency negotiators are Jody Hayes, Ryan Leop, and Jonah Navarro. The labor organizations is Stanislaus Sworn Deputies Association. With that, it's public comment. None?
All right, seeing none, thank you so much for all in attendance. Thank you, Deputy Middleton, for watching over the meeting. I appreciate everybody again. Have a great Tuesday and the rest of your day.